Greetings to my fellow Hiccup heroes across the world. Welcome to another episode of the Hiccups and Healing podcast, the ultimate destination for anyone navigating the tumultuous waters of high conflict co-parenting. I'm your host, Saide Saddiq Cisse, and today's episode is particularly special because it marks the first installment of our Couch Convos sessions, and in this new series, we'll be having a series of conversations with specific individuals who are experiencing high conflict co-parenting and following up with their progress over time. Our first guest is Aadil Abdullah, who has experienced firsthand the effects of high conflict co-parenting on his child's emotional well-being and behavior. He'll be sharing his story and insights on how the conflict impacted his child's ability to thrive and feel secure in their own environment. Through his personal experience, our guest will shed light on the challenges of co-parenting in a high conflict situation and the importance of providing a stable, nurturing environment for children in the midst of it all. He'll also discuss how he navigated the difficulties and found ways to maintain a positive relationship with his child despite the ongoing conflict. If you're a parent struggling with high conflict co-parenting or simply want to gain a better understanding of the impact it can have on children, then this episode is for you. So sit back, grab your favorite drink or snack, and let's dive into this eye-opening conversation. Let's play the clip. Hello, Aadil, and welcome to the Hiccups and Healing podcast. I guess we can start off with you telling us a little bit about your co-parenting journey and how it has impacted your relationship with your child.
Yeah, so now my daughter's 5 years old, but to talk about a journey, you gotta go from the beginning. You gotta go from when she was born. And it's crazy because when she was born, there was a physical barrier between me and my daughter. So what I mean by that is when my ex was giving birth, we were together at the time. And maybe it's partially my fault, but what I mean by the physical barrier is that there was doctors surrounded around her. Her mother was there, her father was there, and I was kind of watching everything happen. And so there was just a physical barrier between me and my daughter being born. After that, yes, I was able to cut the umbilical cord. I was able to hold her. But looking back at it, when you ask me that question, that's what I see. I see that physical barrier of the doctors and her family and then my daughter. So that's the very beginning of the journey if we need to talk about that. But moving forward, I changed locations to try to accommodate being closer to my daughter. I started working in New York City so that I could be closer to my daughter. And mind you, my family lives in the Poconos, which is an hour and a half away from there. So I decided to commute to New York City so I could be close to her so that after work I can go visit her. So my journey has been an uphill battle from the very beginning. And it's been tough. I could go in so many directions with where does the journey begin.
So I guess you can tell me what has been some of your bigger challenges that you've faced along your co-parenting journey and how have you navigated them?
So many challenges. I will say just the very first time I felt the need to take my ex to court, she was not giving me my time with my daughter. Initially, we had set up a mutual thing like, hey, I'll pick her up. And she allowed that to happen once. But I feel like her influences between her parents have made things very difficult for me. They didn't want me to bring my daughter up to Pennsylvania. And it was just like, yo, I want to be able to see my daughter. You know, I wanted for her to interact with my family. Like, I have a big family and she deserves to have that. And so I felt like that was being stripped from me. And that initial time when I just felt the need, you know what, I'm gonna go to court, that was the biggest challenge. And I didn't know what I was getting into, because when you go to court, they already have X, Y, and Z set up for you. They put you on child support, and it's just so hard to navigate some of those things when you have no idea what you're getting into, but you just know that you want to spend time with your child, so I'm just gonna do anything. And you don't realize all the things that you're getting into. So I would say that the challenge was just spending time with my daughter, and that's so unfortunate. The mother should allow that and make it easy, make it accessible, but that was the biggest challenge, just spending time with my daughter in the early stages in her life. How court went is we had to initially do supervised visits. So I was with my daughter, yes, but in the supervision supervision of the mother. And I didn't have a lawyer, so she had a lawyer at the time, so she was able to get so many things that she wanted, where I was fighting the battle on my own. It was like David versus Goliath, essentially. It just felt like an uphill battle from the very beginning. So after the supervised visits, we then do unsupervised visits. But on those unsupervised visits, it was only for a certain amount of time frame. So like 3 hours unsupervised. And then I graduated to a whole day. So then I went a whole day. I was able to bring her up to Pennsylvania and then drive back. But then you realize that that's a little bit too much, because you're spending 4 hours of your time just driving. So it was not really worth it at that point. And I was just like, yo, I'm really going through it. Like, I'm doing everything I can just to spend a little bit of time just so my daughter could spend some time with her family. It was so rough in the beginning. We even had to go through a psychological evaluation, and my daughter is not even 1 year old when we're going through this psychological evaluation. So like, what is a doctor supposed to evaluate between me and my daughter when she's 10 months, 11 months old? The system is not for men. It really isn't. They tried to pin anything against you. So after they evaluated, what she was asking for was that before I get my full weekend, that I attend a 12-week parenting course. And so this parenting course is not in Pennsylvania. It is only offered in New Jersey. So I had to travel an hour and a half just to attend these parenting courses for 12 weeks, just so that I can have her for the whole weekend. And honestly, that experience was rough, because it made me feel like I wasn't worthy of being a father, because some of these people that were in this parenting course were crackheads, were drug addicts, were rapists, like you name it. These people were in this 12-week parenting course. They were trying to get their child back. And surprisingly, the majority of the people there were mothers. They were mothers who were neglecting their child at times, or again, like being a drug addict and getting caught, and they're trying to work their way back to getting their child. And so hearing these stories, I'm like, why am I here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here, man. A little bit of background on myself. I graduated high school in 2012. I graduated college in 2017. I was a 4-year college athlete, and my daughter was born in July of 2017, and I graduated college May of 2017. So I was no deadbeat by any means. I was a good person. I was a good father. And it's just so unfortunate that I was with these type of people. And she painted a picture to the judge, and her lawyer painted a picture to the judge to make me seem like I belonged with this group of people. And man, honestly, that was quite a challenge in itself, because I had to drag myself to class knowing that, you know what, this is rough, but it's so that I can see my daughter. And I just had to always keep that in mind. And there's times where I skip classes, of course, because I don't want to be around them. So it took me a little bit longer than just straight 12 weeks. It probably took me about 16 weeks to complete the course. But I finally was able to have my daughter on the weekends, and I was able to pick her up on Fridays and drop her back off on Sundays. And it was phenomenal. And once I was able to do that, I saw a change in my relationship with my daughter. She knew that this is daddy. He's bathing me. He's feeding me. He's driving me. He's doing all of these things to make me happy. This is my father. And you don't get to do that when you're supervised. You don't get to do that when you have a whole day, because you don't go through the full motions. Daddy's putting me to bed. Daddy's waking me up. Daddy's taking me to the bathroom. Daddy's cleaning my butt. Daddy's taking care of my rash. Daddy is driving me. I'm falling asleep in the car, so it must be far. So yeah, man, a lot of challenges, but that was a big one. And now that my daughter's 5 years old, she's now in kindergarten, things are looking up. Things are definitely not perfect. I actually need to go back to court, but it has been a 360 from where I started, from that barrier in the hospital up till now.
Wow. So during our conversation, you've mentioned the evolution of the challenges you've faced in your high conflict co-parenting situation, from the physical barriers that held you back during your child's birth to the situation of having your current weekends. And it's deep and heartbreaking to hear about the struggles that you've faced as a father up until this point. And I'm sure you've asked yourself, why? Why is your co-parent making it so difficult for you to be a present father in your child's life? Why do you believe she has put you through all of this?
Yeah, so to really dive deep and think about what I did as opposed to what she did, I was unfaithful in our relationship. And I feel like because of that, it has manifested to all of this hatred, all of this vindictive behavior. And it just feels like because I did that, I'm being punished for it. And at times I feel like it's okay because I was unfaithful. So maybe this is what I deserve. This is the thoughts that go through my head. Is this what I deserve? Maybe God is punishing me because I was unfaithful to her. And yeah, it's unfortunate, super unfortunate, because yeah, looking back at it, I was not a good man to her. I was not. I was in college. I was graduating. As I mentioned, I'm a college athlete. So yeah, we had fun. We were kicking it with the boys, and yeah, we would go out and see females. And at the time, I was immature, 100%. I was immature, and I did things that definitely hurt her. But now that is 5 years ago, it feels like I'm still being punished, and it's so tough. And that's really what it comes down to. I was unfaithful to her, and now he's gonna pay.
Wow, man, I can completely empathize with you. But it's been 5 years now, and while it's understandable where her hurt may have come from, it doesn't excuse the fact that you're the father of this child, and that your child needs both of her parents in their life. It's so important to remember that when one parent hurts the other, it ultimately hurts the child the most. They start to feel like they're the cause of the conflict and are forced to choose sides, which is incredibly unfair to them. At the end of the day, they are the ones who suffer the most in this war. We need to find a way to move past our own hurt and focus on what's best for our child.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you can really see that. So my pickup and drop-offs are at a police station. And so when I'm there waiting for my daughter at my designated time, I'm there inside of the police station waiting for her and her mother to enter. And you can see the shyness that she has. She has a shyness to her when she comes. She doesn't just automatically just run to me and is like, "Daddy," because she feels like she has to please her mommy. And if she's showing that she loves me in front of her mother, then it might not be good for her. I don't know what would happen. I don't know if her mother would get mad at her, but you can just tell that there's a shyness to my daughter. So I resonate with what you just said. I really do. And then it's a total 360s. There's times where I wait in the police station and wait for her mother to go out, and she still has a little bit of shyness to her. But once we get into the car, it just feels like she's a totally different person. She's asking me about my day, asking me how I was doing, everything. She's just so interested, and she doesn't get that when she's initially coming to see me. It has to be totally separate from her mother, and she's a totally different person after we get into the car and finally talking about it. Like now she has a baby sister, so she's always talking about her baby sister, and she's just so excited to just see her. She's like, "Am I gonna see my baby sister? How is she doing? Is she talking?" And I'm like, "No, come on, she's 3 months. She's not talking yet, but she's babbling, you know." But yeah, man, yeah, I see that in full flesh.
Man, yeah, so I guess it's never fun when reality kicks in, huh? So with that being said, what are some other challenges that you've come to face, and how have they affected your child?
Her mother comes from a Christianity or Catholic background, and my family comes from a Islamic Muslim background. So that has been a challenge in itself. When she was younger, before she kind of knew more about the world, I used to put a hijab on her when she used to go to the mosque. You know, it's just respectful to put a hijab. And maybe she was a little bit too little for a hijab, but I personally don't think so. So I put a hijab on her and I posted it on Instagram, and she was looking cute. And her mother freaked out and was like, "She's not Muslim, blah, 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 blah. You can't do that. She's gonna be both religions." And so for me, if she's gonna be both religions, then she needs to know both religions. So if I want to put a hijab on her, that's her learning about her culture. If you want to take her to church and learn about Easter, then that's her learning about your culture. So it just sucks that she has to feel like she's always in charge. She can't have any power transferred to me. And that was hard, I believe, for her to accept. And now more recently, she's been going to Sunday school where her grandmother is actually the teacher. So she enjoys it because she gets to hang out with her cousins, she gets to meet new children, and she is enjoying the environment and learning about Islam and learning about the prophets, learning about your 5 daily prayers, learning all of these new things to her. But she's allowed to learn this information. But she called her mother and told her, hey, I was just attending Sunday school. And then her mother's like, you know what? Put your dad on the phone. I was like, oh no, here we go. Why are you taking her to Sunday school? You're not supposed to be teaching her all of this. It's always something. It's unfortunate. So she was enjoying for the first 3 times, she was enjoying going to Sunday school. And then this next time, she actually asked me, Daddy, can I actually stay home instead of going to Sunday school? So it's taking her away from learning about Islam. So that is directly affecting her because she's feeling like, this might not be good. Mommy's telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. So this might not be a good thing that Daddy's teaching me to do. And that's also affecting our relationship. So she shouldn't control what I'm trying to do with my daughter. Regardless, I'm trying to educate her. In the future, she's going to hear about this religion. And it would be a shame if she heard it from someone other than me. So I'm just trying to teach my daughter, man. That's really it.
Oh man, bro, you're gonna have me in tears. Your vulnerability, openness, and connection to the story is just phenomenal. It's clear how dedicated you are to creating and offering the best life for your child. With that being said, have you noticed any direct effects on your daughter's behavior or emotional well-being due to the high conflict between you and your ex-spouse? Does it impact her actions, or is it more related to the educational aspect of her life?
Yeah, so a consistent issue that I always have with my daughter is that she needs me to sleep with her. She cannot sleep by herself. And there's times where I've tried and she's just crying and crying and crying. And she says, well, mommy sleeps with me every single night. Why can't you? And mind you, I have a wife. I mean, she has her own room. It's beautiful. We created her own safe space, but she doesn't feel safe because 11 out of 14 days, she's with her mother, sleeping in bed. And then those other 3 days, she's here with her father. And to just be by herself, it just rips her from having that comfort every single night. But that's creating a rift between me and my wife. I should be with my wife at night. Not that I need to be intimate or anything, but just she needs to have that comfortability of this is her room. This is her bed. This is where she should sleep. This is her safe space. That has caused issues between me and my wife before, So even now to this day, she's 5 years old and she cannot sleep alone. There's times where, I would invite her cousins over to sleep with her. Nope, she'll run up in the middle of the night, ask me, Daddy, I'm scared. I can't sleep by myself. I need you to come sleep with me. And one time I was like, okay, just come to bed with us. And she did. And she relayed that information back to her mother. And now it's like, why is Ari sleeping in a bed with her stepmom and you? That is gross. So then there's that issue. So it's like, okay, like I can't do that. Maybe maybe it is wrong, so I won't do that. And it just causes like layers and layers on top of layers, and that instills into her confidence. Like that goes back to her confidence. If we want to go deeper into that, I feel like her confidence is not fully there because she needs always that support system. And I can even tell like times where she's playing, like she can't just play on her own in her room playing with dolls or Legos. She can't do any of that on her own. She always needs a companion with her in order to play and to have fun and to just live life. And that's so unfortunate. Her mother's not showing her she needs that. And I know that there's times where her mother travels for work. And I asked my daughter, when your mother travels for work, where do you sleep when you're back at your house in New Jersey? She says, I sleep with my grandparents. So she always is having someone with her no matter what. And that is something that really, I believe, needs to change in her life, because then she's always going to be dependent on somebody to make her happy.
So have you taken your daughter to therapy ever before, or have you ever considered it?
So I have not, but her mother has taken her to therapy. And I got a funny story about that. She won't give me any of that information. So we have joint legal custody. That means we need to share all the documents, whether it's medical, dental, schooling, all of that. She needs to share that information with me. She refused to share her therapist information with me. And she claims that her therapist actually was the one who sent Child Protective Services over to my house. And so right now I am a student at East Stroudsburg University, where I'm getting my master's in athletic training. So on Saturdays, I'm going into class so that we can work on our craft. So I had to go into class this particular Saturday when Child Protective Services was there, and she was with her stepmom at the time. And honestly, God didn't plan this any better. So I was away, but she was still like, her cousins were here, her grandmother was here, and her stepmom was here. And the lady from Child Protective Services, when she was leaving, obviously everything was fine. Like, she has a beautiful room, she has a beautiful home, you know, like, she's loved here, she's not neglected. And the Child Protective Services lady mentioned that, and she wrote in her notes like how beautiful of a relationship that my daughter had with her stepmom. And she was like, it's so beautiful to see that, because I'm sure she's seen a lot of things, and for her to say that was beautiful, that warmed my heart, because she told that to my mother. She didn't tell that to my wife, she told that to my mother, and my mother relayed that information, and it made me so happy, because I know that my daughter is loved and she is taken care of.
So, in the midst of all this high conflict, how have you been able to maintain a positive relationship with your child?
Yeah, so I'm there for her just every step of the way. So what I mean by that is that, going back to our conversation about her lack of confidence and stuff like that, I'm there to support her. So yes, I bite the bullet, and I'm like, I'll sleep with you, because I know that'll make you feel better. So I'm just there to support her. I want to make a switch in her to give her more confidence in herself, but I don't think she's ready for that yet. So I'm just there to support her and to be there for everything that she needs. It's hard to be positive sometimes when everything seems like everything's against you, but I know that I love my daughter and I want to build a relationship with her. So it's hard to tell you everything that I do, but I'm there cleaning her butt, I'm there washing her face, I'm there cleaning up her bruises, I'm there for her. And that's all I can really do, is just be there for her throughout everything that she's gonna encounter in this life. And it's a crazy world that we're now in, and that she's growing up in, different world than you and I have grown up in. But I pledge to be there for her all the time. And I also had to put myself first, because I graduated with a bachelor's, and it's not what I wanted to do. I always wanted to continue my education. And after working in New York to try to be closer to her for 2 years, I thought she was old enough. And now that she isn't an infant anymore, I'm gonna take a little bit for myself. And for myself, it's also gonna help her in the end. And so between those two things, that's why I decided to go back to school, to better myself so that I could better my daughter. And so I wouldn't have been able to do it without my family, and I wouldn't have done it without my family. If I didn't have my support system in place, then I wouldn't have been able to go back to school. So having that support system is also what keeps me going. So me now being able to have a better job is going to allow my daughter to have a better life. I can provide multiple things for her that I may not been able to do in the past with just my bachelor's degree.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And so how do you balance the needs of your child with your own personal needs as a father?
Yeah, so she's in kindergarten at the moment, which is really good for her, but it's hard to tell you her needs, because I feel like I'm only allowed to give her what I can give her on my weekends, and I'm with her bi-weekly. So she's with her mother 11 out of 14 days. I'm with her 3 out of the 14 days, and that's just a cycle. So that cycle will just repeat itself. And so when she's here, it's almost like everything is about her. It has changed a little bit now that she has a sister, but me and my wife, we would make the weekend about her. We would do things just for her prior to her little sister being being born. So for example, we would go to the zoo and make it a day trip so that she can do this and see a giraffe, and she can see a tiger, and she can see her favorite animal, an elephant. Or we would take her to go see her cousins because she loves hanging out with her cousins. And so it's almost like we would make the entire weekend about her. And my wife brought it to my attention that we're almost doing too much for her. Like, we need to be able to just hang out at home, watch Dora the Explorer, and make some pancakes and eggs and just hang out at home. And so there's times where we have done that, and those days are almost better than the days that we go to the zoo, because we get to just hang out at home and play different little games at home. And it's just nice to share the same space with her. And my time has been so limited with her that I felt that I needed to do that. We gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta make it about her, we gotta make sure that she's happy all the time. But I do feel like at times it has been almost unbalanced, because it's so focused on her that we're forgetting about our happiness too. So I definitely feel like I need to be better with that as far as balancing. But since her little sister is now in the picture, I feel like things have become more balanced. It has changed over time to not being all about my daughter. It's not all about her baby sister. It has now become all about the family.
Wow, that was beautiful. And so with that being said, is there anything specific that you would go back and change if you could in regards to your high conflict co-parenting situation?
Oh, of course, yeah. I would change my behavior in college. I did not focus on her when she was pregnant. I didn't attend all the doctor's appointments. I was scarcely there. I went to maybe 5 total doctor's appointments. And when a woman is pregnant, they probably, depending on their situation, but you're going to upwards of 20 to 30 doctor's appointments. And I only went to about 5. So with that being said, in fairness to myself, she was living in a different state, working in a different state, and constantly in a different state while I was working on my bachelor's degree. So it was tough, but looking back at it, I could have made more effort. I definitely could have made more effort. And I don't think that relationship would have worked regardless of what I have done. But I do feel like my daughter wouldn't be suffering now if it wasn't for those mistakes that I made early on when I was almost in denial of having a daughter at the age of 21 years old.
So what message would you give to your co-parent?
Man, as much as it hurts me to say this, I would just apologize for my actions. Yeah, I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best to you, but you gotta know that my daughter means everything to me. And she's 50% me, 50% you. And she means everything to me. No matter what I did to you, she means the world to me. I would not do anything to hurt that little girl. I want to elevate her. I want to instill confidence in her. I want to show her what greatness is. I want to lead by example. I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry for the numerous times I have hurt you while you were pregnant. When women are the most vulnerable. I wasn't there. But I'm here now.
Wow, my brother, that is powerful, really powerful. And so, is there a message that you would leave all the co-parents out there with as we close out this conversation today?
I would just say, one, know who you are dealing with from the jump. If you're just in a relationship and thinking about having a child, you gotta know really what you're getting into. You gotta know that everything isn't just peaches and whistles when it comes to raising a child. It's difficult. And if it leads to a separation, especially a high conflict separation, you gotta try to find the calmness in the storm. You gotta try to find some type of calm when things are at high stakes, or when you both are seeing red in a moment. You gotta try to find the calmness, because it's all gonna be worth it if you can remain calm and actually think about it. If you could just think about what your actions are going to create in the future. It's so hard to think that, but for me, my actions when my ex was pregnant is affecting me now. So it's all about your actions and how you handle them. So I guess to sum it up, it would be just really just find the calmness in the storm. storm.
So, if you've made it this far, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Hiccups and Healing podcast. Today's conversation with our guest father has shed light on the impact of high conflict co-parenting on children. We learned that the emotional toll of conflict can affect a child's sleep patterns, emotional well-being, and behavior. Additionally, children can become confused and may feel like they're stuck in the middle of their parents' issues, causing them to feel anxious and stressed. It's clear that high conflict co-parenting is not only detrimental to the adults involved, but can also have a long-lasting impact on children's development. But as our guest father shared, there are ways to co-parent effectively and create a stable environment for our children despite the ongoing conflict. First, it's essential to prioritize our children's needs and keep them out of the conflict as much as possible. This can be achieved by avoiding negative talk about the other parent in front of our children and being mindful of our behavior and reactions in their presence. Second, communication is key. Although it can be challenging, it's important to maintain open and respectful communication with our co-parents to ensure that our children's needs are being met. And lastly, seeking support from family, friends, or from a mental health professional can be incredibly beneficial in navigating the challenges of high conflict co-parenting and providing a safe space to process emotions and develop effective coping strategies. So, to all the parents out there navigating the difficulties of high conflict co-parenting, remember that you have the power to create a positive impact on your child's life by prioritizing their needs, communicating effectively, and seeking support when needed. We can create a stable and nurturing environment for our children to thrive. So that's it for today's first Couch Convo with Aadil Abdullah. We hope you found it helpful and informative. If you have any other tips or stories to share about co-parenting, please leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more episodes like this one. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and keep healing.